Number 1. During the lockdown, I have been furloughed from my butchery job. To make ends meet, my company has effectively loaned us out to one of our depots in Southampton. Myself and Harvey decided to take up their offer. It was a 6-week contract with free travel and accommodation. We were staying in an 1800s cottage owned by a company member, and yes, it is as scary as it sounds. It is split over 3 floors and has a set of stairs that go from the bottom to the top with small landings on each floor. Last night, at around 11 p.m., after I had finished calling my son, I decided to go to bed as I had an early start the next day. I got ready for bed, and as soon as my head hit the pillow, I was asleep. I'm a light sleeper, and I was jolted awake at around 3-ish by the sound of the stairs creaking. As Harvey was at work and I was home alone, I thought this was weird, but it is an old house. So I got up, opened my door to go to the toilet, and I had to walk past the small bathroom to get to the toilet, which was desperate from the bathroom. As I walked towards the toilet, I glanced to my right, where the stairs and the small landing is. On the landing stood an old woman in a dirty nightgown and long, dirty, scraggly hair covering her face. I carried on to the toilet, had a piss, and then it hit me. What the fuck was that? I then peered around the door. She was gone. I decided I must have dreamt it. So I scurried off towards my room, and just as I got to the bathroom, the old woman lunged and tried to grab at me. I managed to swerve her and slammed my door and locked it, and there were 3 bangs on the door. Guys, I don't do drugs, and I don't drink. I got my shit together, and I rang Harvey at work thinking he was taking a piss, but he was at work and I could hear the machines in the background, and he let me speak to the line manager. A little while later, I went to sleep again. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm a light sleeper, and I was jolted awake again, but this time by the bottom of my bed going down, as if someone was sitting on it. I had the covers over my face and was too scared to look. Then it seemed to move up the bed towards my head, the mattress being pushed down with each movement. I am not religious, but I admit I asked his help, and for some reason, I got the courage to pull the covers down. I pulled them down with one quick movement, and immediately the mattress releases, as if whatever it was had stood up, but there was nothing there. Please remember, the door was locked from the inside. Anyway, I went to work, did my shift, and on my way back, I saw Gladys, an old woman who lives next door. I asked her, well, obviously at a safe social distance, about the history of the cottage and what had happened last night. To which she calmly replied, "Oh, you've met Joanne there." "Who is Joanne?" I said. "She committed years ago after her husband died of a heart attack. Apparently, he died in the top bedroom, the room where I was sleeping." She showed me a photo of her, and I went white with fear. I am now sitting in a cafe, contemplating going back to London and just fucking this job off. What do you think? Number 2. My husband and I moved in together when we were 19. The house we were in was built by his great-grandfather, who gave it to his daughter. She sold it to the woman we were renting from. This woman lived there for 30 years, and her husband died of a heart attack in the house, and her son committed suicide in one of the rooms. We started to experience odd things before we had even moved in all the way. He was gone to get furniture, and the only thing we had in the house was a single chair. I was in the chair waiting for him to return. Then I heard and felt the shaking from something heavy crashing down and glass shattering. Nothing in the house was amiss, so I assumed it was something in the attic that was left behind and not stacked well. Lo and behold, the attic was completely empty. The noises continued the 3 years we lived there. We would be awakened at night to voices that had no source. Doors would randomly open and slam shut. One night, I was at work and my husband called me very angry. He thought I was playing a joke on him because he left the house and turned off all the lights and locked the doors. He returned to every light on, the doors wide open and the windows wide open. I explained that I hadn't even gotten off work yet and that my nurse supervisor could confirm. The rocking chair would rock by itself in an empty room. We could hear it. It was a creaky chair. Things would go missing and turn up in odd places. I had to replace the ignition switch in my car and my house key 3 times because my keys would just completely vanish. We later found every set of keys together in a junk box we put in the attic when we first moved in. Take note, we never went in the attic until we were moving our stuff out. The scariest time was when I was taking a shower. My husband wasn't home. He had a shower curtain that you could see through, but it was made to look foggy, so you could only see silhouettes, not really a clear view. While in the shower, I heard loud footsteps that sounded like my husband's because he wore heavy work boots. Through the curtain, I could see a silhouette of a man in the doorway. I assumed it was my husband and started talking to him, but I never got a response and he walked away. When I got out of the shower, my husband wasn't home, so I figured he went to get dinner because I hadn't cooked. When he got home, I asked him why he didn't respond when I was in the shower and talking to him. He insisted he had only just gotten home. Nobody was there with me. After that, I insisted we needed to move, and we did. Number 3. Last summer, I had an internship in Eastern Washington. I go to college in Southern Oregon, so I had to find housing. Fortunately for me, my fiance's best friend had family in the city I would be working in, and they offered to let me stay with them for next to nothing. My host family was a police officer, a university employee, and their daughter, as well as their 2 dogs. The house was very nice and in a newer upscale suburb. I think the house was probably only 5 years old, but definitely less than 10. It was a 2-story house with 2 bedrooms, a bathroom, and a large family or TV room all upstairs. My bedroom was directly across from their daughter's room, who is about my age. The first thing I noticed after living there a few days was that Lola, their very cute Australian Shepherd mix, I think, would absolutely not go into the daughter's room. She would sit in the doorway and look in, but would never enter the room, even if the daughter was in there. She would go into my room or the family room, but never that room. I thought this was weird, but I didn't pay a lot of attention to it. I moved up in late June and worked there over the summer. My internship was with a land surveying company that has a lot of work throughout the West Coast, so I was traveling a lot. I came back from a trip during a time when the family was gone on a vacation for a week, and so I had the house to myself. I would feed and let the dogs out in the morning, and someone else would check on them in the afternoon. Then I had the house to myself all evening. My flight got delayed coming back from Boise at the beginning of this week. So I got home at about 11:30 p.m. I got home, let the dogs out and back in, and then went up to my room to head to bed. I brought Lola with me because she liked to cuddle and I love dogs. About 12:30, I was awoken by a bang. I slept with my door open and was still really drowsy, but Lola was immediately sitting up on my bed with her ears perked up. I got up and grabbed my phone to use as a flashlight and started looking around. I was kind of thinking someone was trying to rob the place. I looked all around downstairs and didn't see or hear anything else. But then I checked the upstairs family room. I didn't notice it at first, but I eventually realized that a wooden TV tray table had been knocked over. All of the windows were closed and the AC was off, so there was no way it was blown over. Weird. Also, this whole time, Lola was following me, and when we got into the family room, she was very skittish. She wouldn't leave my side until we left the room. I went back to bed and didn't have any other experiences that night. The next night, about 7 p.m., I was laying on my bed on my phone, and I noticed from my peripheral vision that the daughter's door, which had been open, was closing on its own. I literally just stared and watched it happen very slowly, and it just kept moving until it eventually latched. Once again, no windows were open and the AC was not running. Shit was spooky. I slept with my door closed that night, and at some point, not sure what time, early morning I think, I just sort of wake up and couldn't sleep. As I laid there, Lola suddenly jumped up, ran to my door, and let out a super loud bark. It scared the shit out of me because it was so sudden. I looked to the door, and below the crack at the bottom of the door, I could see the light from the nightlight in the hallway. It was blocked in 2 spots. Basically, what it would look like if someone was standing just outside the door. And as soon as I noticed this, whatever I saw or thought I saw disappeared from view. I opened my door. I didn't see anything, though I did notice that the door across from mine was halfway closed again after I had opened it that morning. I didn't get any more sleep that night. Lola laid by the door all night, occasionally perking up again, but never barking. I never felt a dark presence or anything like people say they feel in situations like that. But my arm hair definitely stood up. I felt super melancholy the next day, though this could have been just from a lack of sleep. I slept on the couch downstairs the rest of the week. Nothing else really happened except that a few times I noticed both Lola and G, the other dog, sitting at the base of the stairway and looking upstairs with their ears at full attention. When the family got back, I mentioned to them some of what happened, and they were completely unfazed. I guess similar stuff has happened since they moved in, and they just lived with it. Apparently, the daughter even would come home to find things knocked off her dresser on occasion. Number 4. This year was 2018, during fall time. I was sleeping one night when all of a sudden, someone started calling my name. The person kept saying my name a few times until I woke up. Once I was awake, I realized it was my older sister's voice. She was calling for me. I sat up on my bed and looked at my alarm clock. It was 3 a.m. As I was slightly weirded out by the number on the clock, I replied to her, "What's wrong?" as I was squinting my eyes in the dark. My older sister replied with, "I'm scared," then burst into tears. I got up off my bed and turned my lamp on as she started explaining to me what she saw. She said she saw some type of human-bodied, deer-headed creature with horns that was looking at her from her window. I asked her, "Do you want me to check it out?" She was a little hesitant when I asked, but then said okay. So I grabbed a hammer from my closet, and yes, don't ask why I have a hammer in my closet, and I walked into her room. There was nothing to see in her room, so I walked back in my room. Then she told me that her back hurts, as if she had just been whipped. I pulled up her shirt to see a huge S-shaped scratch on her back, from her upper back down to her lower back. It looked like someone took their index, middle, and ring fingers to make a huge scratch on her back. My older sister usually likes to pull pranks on me, but there was no way she could have made that perfectly S-shaped scratch on her back. Her emotions felt real to me, not faked or forced. She then sat in my room for 10 minutes, distraught, and debating whether she wanted to stay in my room for the night or if she wanted to call her then boyfriend so she could stay at his place. I told her to do what feels best for her, so she called him. Her boyfriend at the time had a job where he could work at home or at the office. When he worked at home, he usually would hang out with his friends all day, then work really late at night. So the chances of him picking up his phone were pretty high. He answered the phone and they began talking. She finally decided she wanted to stay the night at his place. As he was driving to our parents' house, I sat with her for another 10 minutes until he was here. We all met in the garage and talked a little on the situation. I was told by my sister and her boyfriend to make up an excuse for when our parents realize she isn't in bed in the morning. I shook my head up and down as I reassured them to not worry. Once they left, I walked back upstairs in the hallway and saw my sister's room. with the door wide open. I closed it, feeling a little uncomfortable, then went back in my room to go to sleep. Number 5. Here's hoping I will be able to relate this story as best as I can. English is not my first language. I am a nurse who used to work the graveyard shift in a psych unit in a large hospital outside Chicago. Normally, there would be 2 nurses in our shift, but on this particular night, we had Joyce, who was still on orientation phase. When it was Joyce's turn, around 2 a.m., to have a 1-hour break, the charge nurse Pam told her she may use the MSW's office at the end of the hallway so the night supervisor couldn't see her sleeping. This office has a couch which anyone can comfortably sleep. About 30 minutes passed. I saw Joyce in the hallway looking so terrified. Pam, who quickly glanced up at her from the computer, said, "You're up too early. Go back." Joyce, who's pale and almost out of breath, said, I just had a dream. It was almost real. I dreamt I was in that same dark office, lying on the couch, and there was a black cat looking at me, and for a long time, then slowly I felt like 2 hands choking me in the dark. I couldn't breathe. Then the cat jumped across my body. Then at that moment, I woke up and it felt so real. Pam, who now has her full attention on Joyce, said, "Look at your neck. You have red scratches on your neck." There really were red scratches on Joyce's neck, like somebody or something held her neck for a long time. We didn't use that office for breaks anymore. I was in there myself before any of this happened, and I couldn't stand the darkness of the room. It felt like somebody was watching me, and I wasn't able to sleep at all. Hi everybody, it's your creepy older sister here. Thank you so much for listening. You have no idea how I appreciate this. Since the channel is fairly new though, I would like to hear some comments or suggestions from you so that I can continuously improve my coming videos. If you want to know what the name of the channel means, you can check out the description below. If you want to send me stories to read, you can also check out my email and send it there. It's also in the description. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, and subscribe to the channel so we can grow together here, and I'll definitely try my best to upload more each week. Once again, thank you very, very much. And to all the creepy experiences, bad vibes, scary people, and paranormal encounters, together we say to them, Tabi-tabi po.